Hello Magic fans, I'm Beef and welcome back to another Explorer video. Explorer is not a format I play a lot. So there is currently a deck during the rounds in Standard focusing on Urborg Scavengers. Urborg Scavengers is a card from, I think, March of the Machines Aftermath, which hasn't seen a lot of play. It's a 3 mana 2/2 and says whenever it enters or attacks, you exile target card from a graveyard. You put a +1/+1 counter on the Scavengers, and then the Scavengers basically has every keyword ability of the card that it has exiled. Didn't see a lot of play because there's not been a huge amount of cards to really exile with it. You know, Atrox is probably the big one, which has what? Flying, Vigilance, Lifelink, Death Touch. But if Atrox is in a graveyard, you probably want to reanimate it because the value from Atroxa is from the ETB, not necessarily the keywords. But this kind of changed in Foundations because Zetalpa Primal Dawn was reprinted. So it's an 8 mana 4/8 with Flying, Double Strike, Vigilance, Trample and Indestructible. And obviously this is a great card to exile with the Scavengers. You know, if you get a Zetalpa in your graveyard and then turn 3 play the Scavengers, you can have a 3/3 Flying, Double Strike, Vigilance, Trample, Indestructible, and then on the next turn you can attack again, exile something else, maybe a Sire of 7 Deaths, which is a 7 mana 7/7 with First Strike, Vigilance, Menace, Trample, Reach, Lifelink, Ward, pay 7 life. Now I was going to play this deck, but today Pioneer Masters was released and I was looking through the set list over the weekend and saw that Soulflayer has been printed for first time in Arena. So for those who don't know, Pioneer is a non-rotating format that goes back to, I think, 2012's Return to Ravnica. So every card from Return to Ravnica onwards is legal in Pioneer. We don't have Pioneer on Arena. We have Explorer, which is basically exactly the same. Even the website says it's Arena's version of Pioneer. So they now released a load of cards that we've not had before, specifically for Arena, although they have also released cards that we do have, like Blood Type Harvester is in Pioneer Masters, which is weird because we have that on Arena. And so it's like Liliana of the Dark Realms, which we just had reprinted in the Bloomburrow special guests of Planeswalkers as animals. So bit odd why they chose some cards we already have, but the card we didn't have is Soulflayer. And Soulflayer is kind of similar to Urborg Scavengers. It's a 6 mana 4/4 with Delve. Delve is a mechanic which says whenever, as it says on screen, when you cast it, you can exile cards from your graveyard. Each card you exile from your graveyard while casting a spell pays for 1 generic. So if you exile 4 cards, this costs 2 black. And then basically the Soulflayer has all the keyword abilities of all creature cards exiled with the Soulflayer. So for example, if you exiled Zetalpa with it, Soulflayer would have Flying, Double Strike, Vigilance, Trample, Indestructible. So very similar to the Scavengers, but a bit different. Soulflayer is basically all or nothing. You get everything at once, which is great if your graveyard is stacked. You can exile Zetalpa, Sire of 7 Deaths, Samut, or Riverwinder. We'll get those in a minute, and it will immediately have all those keyword abilities. But obviously, if you're in a position where you have like a loads of lands in graveyard, you only have, you only have Zetalpa, it's still going to be pretty powerful, but that's all you get. Whereas with Urborg Scavengers, you can exile one thing, attack next turn, exile something else, and keep building it up that way. Another interesting distinction is Urborg Scavengers has the abilities of the card, not creature. So we do have 2 copies of Valgavoth's Lair, which has hexproof. So if we get that in the graveyard, exile it with the Scavengers now has hexproof. We do have a creature for hexproof, but Soulflayer only works with creature cards. You can exile any card with Delve, but it only gets the keyword abilities of creature cards. So we want to keep that striped Riverwinder for the Soulflayer. Something else that might come up as well is Urborg Scavengers is a triggered ability whenever it enters or attacks. So that does give your opponent the ability to interact between the triggered ability triggering and resolving, whereas Soulflayer, you just come down with it. So if it comes down with hexproof, there's nothing your opponent can do. So let's quickly just go through the other cards to reanimate. Samut, Voice of Dissent. We're not casting this, we don't have any red mana, although we could play Valgavoth's Lair on red and Mana Confluence, but it has Flash, Double Strike, Vigilance and Haste. That's all we care about, and Haste is the key one. Being able to get down, exile it with a Scavengers, attack immediately, exile something else, or exile it with a Soulflayer and suddenly crack in for 4/4 double strike as well, and Vigilance is fantastic. And as mentioned, we do have Striped Riverwinder, a 7 mana hexproof cycling 1, so we can cycle it for 1 to draw a card and get it into a graveyard, but it is a creature with hexproof for Soulflayer, so again a great thing to exile with a Soulflayer to make sure removing it is very, very difficult. And what do we do to get things into our graveyard? So we have Otherworldly Gaze, 1 mana, Surveil 3, look at the top 3 and put enemy into the graveyard, rest of the library in any order. Often we will just put everything into our graveyard, unless we see a Soulflayer or a Scavengers and we need one of those. We can also flash it back for 1 in the blue. Found in the first path, it's read ahead, so we can choose any of the modes, but the first one is we may cast an instant source with mana value 1 or 2 from our hand without paying its mana cost. So a great thing we can cast an Otherworldly Gaze or a Grisly Salvage we'll get to. And then the second level, the second counter is target player mills 4 cards. We'll be choosing us. And then third one, we can exile target instant source card from our graveyard, copy it, we may cast a copy. Do have to pay for it. But again, if we need to cast another Otherworldly Gaze or a Grisly Salvage, we can with that. Then Oracle of Tragedy, a 2 mana 1/3. When it enters or dies, we choose one. We're only really going to choose a draw a card, discard a card. This is great if we have if any of our things we want to exile with Scavengers or Soulflayer in our hand, we can discard it with Oracle. And then Grisly Salvage, 2 mana, look at the top 5 cards of the library. We put a creature or land card among into a hand, put the rest into a graveyard. So essentially this can be put 5 cards into a graveyard, which is what we really want. And then we have 3 copies of Overlord of the Balmerk. We can impend it for 1 in the black. So when it enters or attacks mill 4 cards, then we may return a non-avatar creature card or planeswalker card from our graveyard to our hand. So a great way to fill a library for 2 mana. And also, if we mill a Soulflayer or Scavengers, we can get it back. Or if it's in our graveyard, this is not a return card milled this way. This is just return a card. So if we've got it in one of these in a graveyard for other way, or it has been removed for some reason, we can get it back with the Overlord. Mana base, we have no basic lands. We are technically 3 colours, black, blue and 1 green. Said we're not casting Simut. So we just have a lot of dual lands, a few pain lands in Underground River, and we can shock in Overgrown Tomb and Breeding Pool. Mana Confluence can tap for any colour, but we do have to pay a life. So this is really, really fun deck. It is quite powerful. Getting down a turn 3 Scavengers or Soulflayer and it being like a 4/4, flying double strike, vigilance, trample, indestructible. Vigilance and double strike is just bonkers indestructible. You'll see a game against Igra where blocked an 18/18 and obviously didn't die because it's indestructible. And coupling that with a life gain from Sire of 7 Deaths is really fun as well. There is a slightly different version of a deck where you play Neoform. Neoform lets you sack a creature and search a library for a creature with mana value 1 plus that creature's mana value. And Soulflayer is 6 mana, but we play it cheaper. And you also play Tasigur, which is also a 6 mana delve creature, and that way you can Neoform into a Troxer. I'm telling you against playing that deck because I wanted to showcase the Scavengers and Soulflower win condition, and I think this deck does that pretty well. It's also quite funny playing against combo decks who don't quite combo and suddenly we just smash in for 12. So that's quite good. So I really, really enjoy playing this deck. I hope you'll enjoy watching it. If you do, please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the gameplay. We go first with an okay hand. We can Otherworldly Gaze turn 1, or do it at the end of their turn. To fill the graveyard, Oracle of Tragedy can discard as a Zetalpa. I think we keep the Grisly Salvage. And yeah, let's get down our Oracle. We will draw and discard. Discard Zetalpa. Would have liked to give it haste, but it does have hexproof. Hexproof and indestructible. So pretty tough to deal with. They block and then Witch's Oven. Or not. Opponent not doing much. I think we try and hit a land drop. Wow. We do hit a land. So we hit him for 8. So it's a food deck. Well, we saw that already, but yeah, didn't know Egra. We don't have anything in our graveyard that's worth exiling with the Herbal Scavengers. Well, let's just attack in. And obviously our Soulflayer has Vigilance and Indestructible, so it can kind of block Egra all day long. Because our Soulflayer has Trample, it does get through. Well, let's play out Vargov's Lair. Doesn't really matter, I think. Let's put it on black. And we'll just hold up Grizzly Salvage. But obviously our Soulflayer can block Egra. Although, can they combo off? I think they can. get rid of our striped river winder. See, now we'll get rid of Samut. I don't know how long I can do this for. Eager doesn't have trample. And Soulflayer has indestructible. Let's put a land into our hand. Yeah, I don't know how far they can go. We will exile our Samut. And they will exile our Atroxa. And yeah. They couldn't quite combo off. I don't know what more they needed to do. So, not played with or against the Cauldron Familiar, which is other thing a lot. But I know there is a combo you can do where you can just keep on creating food and getting it back. Our opponent goes first. We don't have any blue mana. Now we do. We have Soulflayer as well. So hope for, and Gaze. I think we put back Zetalpa and just hope we find another one. Lotusfield, yeah. Well, we can double Otherworldly Gaze. So you'd quite like to find another Zetalpa and Samut. Or maybe a Troxa. Well, there is Samut. We could cycle the River Winder so that Soulflayer has X-Proof, but let's go big. Be a bit greedy. Yeah, that wasn't fantastic, was it? We'll build another Soulflayer. Yeah, we can probably strike Riverwinder and Soulflayer. So we definitely want those two. That's all we need. Doesn't have flying. Or trample. So not the best Soulflayer, but it is a 4/4 double striking with hexproof. Oh, they're going to have a lot of mana. They are taking their time over what to do with it, though. We could just be here for a while. Because they are taking ages. What do they get? All this land isn't great. While they are mostly tapped out, we hit another Soulflayer. With a Zetalpa down there, I'd really like a another Summit. Or another striped Riverwinder. But Sire of 7 Deaths can give it Ward 7. Well, pay 7 life. I wouldn't mind this if they, you know, decks like this are always going to take their time, but they're just taking a long time to make decisions which aren't hard to make. Now you play it again. Or cycle it again, sorry. Yep. Like they're so basically we need a submit. And we hit a submit. Submit, Sire, Overlord. Yeah, that'll do. Soulflayer had first strike and double strike. Unfortunately, he doesn't hit him 3 times. Yeah, I don't know what. I've never, again, like the Cat Oven deck. I don't play Explorer much, so I've not played against the Lotusfield deck much. But I don't quite know how. Obviously, they wanted to draw in more things to untap their Lotusfield, or maybe Thespian Sage as well, which can turn Lotusfield rather having to sacrifice other lands. But you know, they just kind of whiffed in the end. My God. I don't think it's meant to be my God, spelled badly. We go first. I suppose we can... we don't have a 1 or 2 mana sorcery to sorcery play with Founding. But I suppose we can read ahead. I'll play Valgavoth's Lair then on black. I don't mind that at all. Oh, let's impend our Overlord. Get back our Oracle. Play our Oracle. See, draw and discard Zetalpa. We don't have a submit down there. Well, let's Soulflayer then. Can I do it for 1 black? No. So Zetalpa and a Riverwinder and a Darksix Shores. So one of the benefits Soulflayer has over Urborg Scavengers is Soulflayer just has those abilities when it enters Urborg Scavengers. It is a trigger ability. Well, let's hit in for a decent chunk. We'll impend a second Overlord. Let's sacrifice our Oracle of Tragedy. Let's attack with our Soulflayer. Yeah, we still only have a... Well, let's get this down. And we will just take our Valgoth's Lair. And we do have a, well, a 5/5 as well as our 4/4 double strike indestructible trample. I'll be honest, Mergard, I'm not sure that's going to do it. We'll just lose 3 life. And yeah, obviously we swing with a Soulflayer, that will kill him anyway. But let's just see what else we can get in our graveyard. I think our other Sire of 7 Deaths was on top, so we can put that in graveyard, exile of Urborg Scavengers, give it, was it? First Strike, Vigilance, Menace, Trample, Reach, Lifelink, Ward, pay 7 life. So yeah, pretty good. We go first with not a great way to fill our graveyard. This is better. I think we put back the Oracle. We can found in and play and cast Grizzly Salvage with it. Well, we do need an additional land. I think we get the Underground River. I was really hoping to hit some of our creatures there. But maybe we play Founding on the oh, is it? It's not the same guy as earlier, is it? Well, there's Sire. Well, it's not the best one. So I'd really like to find something to give it hexproof and double strike. Because they're about to have a pretty good turn, I think. Oh, not that good then. Thespian stage? Yep. Well, let's get in and we will exile Valgoth's Lair just to give it hexproof. And then I think we Overlord. That way we can get back a Soulflayer. And if we can survive next turn, we can have a pretty good turn. They're going to have a lot of mana. Just hope they actually speed up a bit. Or have they just noped out? It's starting to look that way. No, they're there. Play Thespian stage, surely. Turn Thespian stage into Lotusfield. Or untap them both first. Scavengers doesn't have indestructible. And I don't think we've got a Zetalpa in the graveyard. No, we don't. I'm imagining this gets countered. I can't imagine they leave up 3 mana without the ability to counter it. We exile our other summit. So now we're hitting for 18. Okay, I did not expect that. Like, what were they doing? They had 6 cards in hand and 3 mana. Did they not just not have a way to untap? Clearly they didn't. But yeah, that was odd. Our opponent goes first. But we've got an okay hand. Hopefully Otherworldly Gaze can surveil us into some good things to put in the graveyard and then stuff to exile. I think I'll play Valgavoth's Lair on blue. So we're up against goblins. So we're probably about to take a whack. But we have found our Urborg Scavengers. We like Samut. Yeah, we're about to hit for 4. Oh, let's play out the Scavengers. Exile one of our Samuts. We will keep our other Samut in case we hit a... we find our Soulflayer. Well, we're going to have to take out Krenko. But this is a problem. There is a Soulflayer. We only have Samut down there though. So I think we've got to do this. No, that's not good. I think we are, unfortunately, just dead though. Yeah,